webinar on, on certification, on the checklist specifically. I'd like to thank Director Mandeville, our esteemed director, and the Deputy Director of Certification, Ms. Oakins. Thank you so much for this opportunity today. So we have a lot of information to go through and a short time to do it, so I'll get right into the matters at hand.
Okay, Laura, go to slideshow. There you go.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so moving right along. Certification 101, understanding the certification documentation checklist. So the documentation checklist purpose, we are looking at your documents to support how you started your business, what exactly your knowledge is, all these things. The requirements are 51% or more owned by minorities, women, veterans, service disabled veterans, and persons with disability. Certification criteria is based on the ability of the vendor to effectively convey their ability to meet requirements, ownership and management, control, independence, expertise, size, and personal net worth. The size standard for personal net worth for 2024 is $2.76 million. So if you have that personal net worth right now, you can stop viewing this webinar. Also, we have a location requirement for certification, which the primary workforce, the full-time employees, the majority of the full-time employees must be located in Cook, DuPage, Kane, Will, McHenry, or Lake counties. So next slide. We talk about different documents, right? This is what you're here for, to talk about the documents. So there's one set of documents that are called mandatory documents. The mandatory documents are documents that you need to complete the application. Then there's another set of documents that are called required. The required documents you need, that is depending upon your business structure or your business activity. So according to business structure, you would be a corporation, an LLC, a general partnership, a sole proprietor, a franchise, a startup, or based on activity, that would be a distributor or a supplier. So this is the list of documentation for mandatory documents. So we want the affidavit signed and notarized. Both dates should match. Bank resolution and or business signature card. Businesses need to have funding and have checking accounts, and we need to see the bank resolutions and bank signature card to see who controls the finances of the company. So, and then as well as an initial and most 3 months bank statement for all business accounts associated with the applicant firm as well, to support, that the firm is a viable business and that, that information is together. Also, we need copies of 3 current contracts, purchase orders, or invoices showing work actually performed by the business. And that will relate to the NAICS code, the NAICS codes that your firm will be certified in, okay? So also we need copies of W-2s and 1099 forms for all employment services for the most recent 3 years. So right now it would be 2023, 2022, and 2021 for each owner, director, officer, manager, and check signer. Further, we require licensing. So professional licensing, if you are, say, an accountant or, hold a professional license with the state of Illinois, as well as City of Chicago business license if your business is located in the city of Chicago, or wherever your business is located. If that municipality requires you to have a license, then for the certification, we also require you to have the license. Also, current payroll register or statement regarding current payroll for the most recent 4 pay periods. So we want to examine that payroll record and see who is on your payroll, who is getting paid, who is doing what, right? Okay, and that is for your full-time employees, okay? And then, of course, we require evidence of ethnicity, gender, citizenship, and residency for each owner, director, manager, and check signer. So we accept a driver's license or state ID that is a real ID stamped with a star, or a birth certificate that shows all the details, or the form I-551, which is a permanent resident card or a current US passport. So we also require the most recent 7 years of tax returns for the corporation or the business based on your structure, regardless of structure. 7 years of tax returns, all pages signed and filed with the federal government. We require federal taxes only. Also, we require 7 years of personal federal tax returns signed and filed with the federal government. So as well as if you have any affiliate companies that you own, so by ownership or other ways, we also require those tax returns and 7 years of those taxes. So as well, we require the personal net worth statement, as I mentioned previously, and the size standard for that is $2.7 million at this time. And that is for the qualifying owner who represents 51% or more ownership of the firm. So also we require proof of contribution. How did you start your business? Go back in your records, figure out, how did I start my business? What did I use to start this business? If you haven't started your business yet, this is something important to note, because it shows you the history and how you started from the ground up and where you started exactly. Okay, we also require resumes for each owner, director, officer, manager, and check signer that detail their work experience, their training and education, so that shows and supports the application. All the documents that we request support all the answers on the actual Schedule A application. So the application itself is one set of answers, while the documents support those answers. Next is copies of current leases. We need to know where the business is located exactly, and we need a signed current lease. We can't certify someone if we don't know their location. So, and then as well as if you have, say, supplies that you're housing, if you sell supplies as a regular dealer, or if you sell supplies, then we need that to know about that information. Where are the supplies housed at? All those details are very important in the certification process, and very important to to us. So also we would like to see titles or any agreements for any equipment. So say you're a crane operator, or you're renting cranes, whatever it is, if it has heavy equipment of some sort, we also want to see how you've obtained that equipment. Where's the title to the equipment? Where's the lease agreement to the equipment? How do you have access to that equipment, basically? So now the required documents, these are only if they apply to the business. And so this is in regards to any agreements affecting control or management rights by any owner. We would need to see that information. Any copies of loan agreements or letters of credits issued to the business or any owner. We want to see what outstanding loans and letters of credit the business actually has. So as well as, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. So here it talks about the equipment lease agreements. I knew that was coming, I apologize. So also any management service agreements for if you have someone managing the business other than yourself. And we want to see that, and we would ask for that as well. Any certifications or denials of certification that the applicant firm may hold for minority, women, veteran, service disabled veteran, persons with disability. We also would like to see if you have a DBE certification or an SBA 8A certification. So if you hold any of those, we require copies of those as well. So, and if your firm is bonded in any way, then we would require a copy of the proof of bond. So here's the documents by business structure. And these separate documents are just required for a corporation. So for a corporation, we need the file stamped articles of incorporation and all amendments. Then we also require current bylaws that govern the corporation. We need to see how the corporation is governed, and the bylaws outline all that information. We want to see the stock certificates and stock ledger. So the stock certificates show you who is the owner, and the stock ledger backs that information up. So the two must correspond from inception of the original start date of the corporation until the current date. So if there's gaps, or if there's changes in the stock ledger or changes in the stock certificates that aren't reflected on the stock ledger, then that would be an inconsistency we would ask questions about. As well as we also need meeting minutes for stockholders meetings documenting the election of all directors. And we also need shareholders meeting minutes for the election of all officers. We need the first meeting minute for both and the two most recent meeting minutes. We also require for all corporations a letter of good standing issued by the state of Illinois. The next type of structure is a limited liability company, which would be the same, basically the same type of document, but it's called something different, which is a file stamped article of organization and all amendments. For an LLC, it's organization, and for a corporation, it's incorporation. So we also require the LLC's current operating agreement that governs and oversees how the LLC is run and operated in the operating agreement itself. Then if there are any LLC managers meeting minutes, we require that as well. And all LLCs must be in good standing with the state of Illinois as well. So then we have general partnerships. Partnerships, we require a partnership agreement, and we would want that fully executed and signed. We do not want something that has one signature if there are two partners. We want fully executed documents across the board for all matters. So we also require a assumed name certificate and you must file with the Cook County Clerk's office to obtain that LLC assumed name certificate. For a sole proprietor, we also require an assumed name certificate. And again, that's with the Cook County Clerk's office. A franchise is a different entity altogether by structure. So we would require the actual franchise agreement between you and the parent company of the franchise. And then any additional documents that support like how the franchise is ran by you, but with the umbrella of the actual main company that oversees the franchise that you bought into. So, yes. So, we also want to see, you know, that that each franchise, each owner, the qualifying owner, can still direct the franchise as they deem necessary and do not have major stipulations by the parent company of the franchise. And lastly, we also certify startup businesses. We would require a business plan and 3 proposals to prospective clients outlining exactly a scope of work and what you are to be performing as a startup to prospective clients. So when we say VBE, we mean Veteran Business Enterprise. When we say SDVBE, we mean Service Disabled Business Enterprise. So again, the business must be at least 51% owned, controlled, and managed by 1 or more qualified veterans and or service disabled veterans. In the case of a corporation, at least 51% or more of the stock of which is owned, controlled, and managed by 1 or more veteran or service disabled veteran. Management expertise, policies, major decisions, and business operations must be clearly made by the 51% qualifying owner. So now on to distributors, suppliers, and regular dealers. So this is for distributors, suppliers, regular dealers. This is when you're holding product and selling product. So for all distributors, we require a distributor agreement. It's currently dated and fully executed from a manufacturer that shows that you have the right to sell their product as a distributor. We require a list of inventory, the description, the quantity, and the value for at least the past 6 months. A copy of purchase orders for inventory for sale for the past 6 months. A brief, detailed explanation of logistics, how customers receive their orders. Basically, what is your process? How do you obtain your supplies, and how do you resell them, and to whom, and like the chain of command of that supply. That's basically what we want to know there. So also copies of current leases, deeds, and or tax bills for all properties where inventory is held. I briefly touched on that before about the actual location of the business and why we need to know that information. So now on to veteran, service disabled veteran, or persons with disability and a business enterprise. So if so for VBE and SDVBE, we require a DD 214, which shows and supports the veteran service record, and we require that. And then for persons with disability, business enterprise, we require an affidavit by the person with the disability, as well as an affidavit from that person's physician. And I'm up to questions and answers, so I will take any questions at this time.
Hey, Laura, so it looks like we have a couple of questions. Margarita, she says, if I am a new business owner and I don't have all the documents required and the 2.76 million, Am I able to apply for a minority woman certification?
Thank you, Dr. Butler. Yes, you can still apply. There's, like I said, there's certain documents that are required that are necessary for all applicants. And those documents are the required, I'm sorry, are the mandatory documents. Okay, so the mandatory documents are the ones that the affidavit, you need that. Perhaps she was speaking of tax returns. So if you say you just started your business in 2020, you're not going to have all 7 years of tax returns. So you would provide a statement explaining, I just started my business in 2020. I have this many years of tax returns for the business. And then you would, upload that information with the application. However, we still require all 7 years of your individual income tax returns.
Thanks, Laura. Let me see, since 2023 taxes are not yet due, do taxes for 2016 to 2022 meet the 7-year criteria?
It's 2016 to 2022 for right now.
Okay, perfect. So that's the answer to her question. Tasha, can you use a letter from the VA to show your disability status as proof of disability?
We would consider that, but we also want the DD 214 to show the actual record of, your veteran record. And then we would look at that in support of, the disability. You would still have to you would still have to fill out the disability information for the application. You would indicate veteran and SDVBE on the application itself.
Okay. Michelle has a follow-up question. Is the $2.6 million net worth for the woman-owned business owner in isolation, or is it based on net worth for her and her husband?
It's based on the applicant's net worth. So if the husband owns part of the business, that would be commingled. So, but it's based on the 51% qualifying owner.
Okay, that's an important part of it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's based on the majority owner, right? The 51, because you're certifying, if a woman-owned business is being certified,
Yes.
it's with an understanding that the woman owns 51%.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it's the qualifying, all the documents and everything, the taxes and the personal net worth, any professional licensing held. We want to see that information on the qualifying owner, and the qualifying owner is the 51% owner. So if you own more than that, great, but minimum is 51% to be considered for any certification type.
Okay. Alexander asks, if you are certified in Chicago and the state of Illinois with MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, do you still have to fill out an application to be certified with the county?
Yes, you do. We do not have reciprocal with the state of Illinois. So yes, you would need to apply with Cook County and submit all the documentation and the answers to the application. And we review everything based on the applicant's submission and its own merits.
Okay, Alexander, I hope that answered your question. If not, definitely put some more, or you can come off of mute. Kara, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. How soon after starting a business can you start applying for this is a good question. How soon after starting a business can you start applying for certification? That's the first part of the question. And then can the process start immediately, or how much time would you recommend waiting to start certification process?
So again, we do certify startups like I mentioned in the presentation. And we require a business plan and 3 current proposals. The proposals are very important because as a startup, those proposals tell us what you're applying for. The application tells us what you're applying for, but those proposals also support the application. So we're going to want to see a full scope of work. What exactly are you doing? Are you selling something? What exactly are you doing? But yes, you can apply right away if you are startup business. There's no time stipulation at this time right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Let me see. Bethany, how does the contribution requirement come into play if a business ownership is being transferred? Example, a family business, which is WBE, passed to the next female owner or the daughter.
So you wouldn't just merely pass a business to someone. You would have corporate documents if it was a corporation, and there is actual documents that show was this gifted to someone, how the transfer was made, and why was it gifted. There's documentation that we would require based on a transfer of ownership for an individual. And so their contribution would be my grandfather or grandmother gifted me this business. It is now I'm whatever generation in the family, and it's now my turn to take charge of this business. So you would have all the required documentation supporting that transfer of ownership from the senior member of the family to the younger member of the family.
So let me ask a follow-up question, Laura.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I think this is also what she's trying to ask.
Sure.
If that business is currently WBE certified, does the certification transfer to the new family member, or does the new family member have to apply for its own certification under that new business owner?
Understood. Thank you, Dr. Butler, for interpreting that. I appreciate it. So that would be if the firm is currently certified, the certification automatically does not transfer over to the new owner. You would need to do a separate expansion request in our online portal and indicate that the business was sold, and if the FEIN number, the federal government tax ID number, is the same as the new company. If the new company has a different federal tax ID number, then it's a whole new application. If it is the same federal tax ID number for the business, then they would merely put that request in the online portal as an expansion request. And then they would, submit all the transfer documents. If it's a corporation, any transfer agreements or any buy-sell agreements, the stock certificates front and back from inception to the current date of the application, a stock ledger, and then also based on what the firm does, who holds the current licensing. Is it a professionally licensed firm? Who and then also with regard to the bank signature card, who actually is on the bank signature card during this time of a transfer of ownership. Those are all things that we would be asking for with regard to the fact if the federal tax ID number was the same, and if it wasn't, it would be a whole new Schedule A application. Please let me know if I need to clarify anything.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Bethany, if you have anything additional, feel free to either drop it in the chat or you can come off of mute. Michelle asks, can the social security numbers be blocked out on the tax forms for security purpose once they're in submission?
We prefer that nothing is redacted at all. It's going into an online secure portal. So we prefer that nothing is redacted.
All right. We also have you all a resource page, that a resource slide rather, on the next slide that has a lot of the resources that some people are asking for links to in the chat. So you will get a copy of this slide deck also added in the follow-up email. Cassandra, if I am in Indiana, can I apply for, okay, Cassandra's asking about RFPs. If I'm in Indiana, we're not procurement. If I'm in Indiana, can I apply for an RFP in Cook County? So,
I would defer to purchasing, but I
yeah,
believe that
that's
vendors
procurement.
all over the nation
Yeah.
can apply, you know,
So
to,
I'll answer that question. The answer is yes, Cassandra. I'm going to loosely
yeah,
answer that question for you. Yes, if you're in Indiana, you can apply for an RFP in Cook County.
you can't
To
apply for
further that,
certification.
to further that question, to further that question, we are going to have a Doing Business with Cook County webinar on April the 16th. We do a quarterly webinar every quarter with procurement. And if you want to come back to that webinar, which I highly suggest everybody here on this webinar register for that webinar, you will actually get more of a detailed answer to your question, but a surface level answer to your question, Cassandra, is yes. Or Cassandra, I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but your answer is yes.
The other thing to mention is that we require the majority of the full-time workforce to be located in the Cook County market, and that the business has has a home office in the Cook County market, which is Cook, DuPage, Kane, Will, Lake, and McHenry County. So those 6 counties, you know, that's where we want to see the majority of the full-time workforce, and the business must be located in that area. We do not certify companies in the state of Indiana.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that, Laura.
Sure.
Sharice, can you drop the link? Yep. So Sharice, I will actually have that link in the follow-up email. So I'll have that link for you to go ahead and register for that. I haven't started marketing for that yet, but I did create the event. So I do have the registration link ready for you. So I'll send that. Thank you for reminding me. I will add that in the follow-up email. Let me see.
One thing I would like to add, Dr. Butler, if I may, is that everybody, you know, it's the checklist is so long and the application so long, or this is so long. Again, take this time to review your business structure, your records, and, you know, all information that support the business's history. Don't look at it as such a terrible task. Look at it as like, wow, I'm getting all this done for my business, and I'm cleaning up my records, and I'm also going to be certified. So both are a win-win. Once you clean up this book of all your history of the company and obtain and gather all these documents, save them for yourself, you know, keep a corporate book of some sort, you know, to have all this information at your fingertips. That's all I wanted to add.
No problem. So, Laura, if I may have you, I'm going to ask you to touch on something else just briefly, just for a little bit more clarification for someone who's on here, because I feel like maybe someone needs a little bit more clarification on this.
Sure.
That is the mandatory documents versus the required documents. If possible, can you please we do have a few minutes that we can kind of elaborate a little bit more. Can you please maybe just talk a little bit more about, or elaborate a little bit more on the mandatory documents versus the required documents? Because I think for some people, it could be a little confusing about what I have to submit versus what I don't have to submit if I don't have them.
Sure. So mandatory documents, this list that it starts from 1 until item 15. All these items are mandatory. They're required for the certification. Excuse me. So these are required. Like, we need the bank signature card. We need the contracts. We need the W-2s and 1099s. We need this information. However, say for an example, you know, maybe you were stay at home for a while, and you did not work for a certain period of time, you would then provide a statement saying, okay, well, from what year is it? For 2023, I did not work. So I do not have a W-2 or 1099 for 2023. You would provide a statement explaining that, right? Do you want, I'm just making sure that everybody understands that. So, you know, it's 2020, 2020, I'm sorry, 21, 22, and 23. That's what we're looking for right now. But if you don't have that information, then you would say, okay, well, I was incarcerated during that time, or whatever it is, you know, just explain why you don't have that document. There are certain things that we require that, you know, such as the proof of contribution. We want to know item 12 is very important. We want to know how you started the business. Where did the funds come from? What did you use to start your business? And so that's why we need all this stuff to determine exactly how you will fit into the program. And then the required documents, the required is based on if they apply to your business structure or if they apply to your business type.
Okay. So if does anyone have a question? If you do, feel free to come off of mute real quick so you can actually communicate your question the way you'd like to have it understood. I'm fine with that. So if there's anyone who wants to come off of mute who has a question, feel free to do so now.
I just want to make sure, are we gonna get the copies of the slides? I missed that part of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Sharice?
Okay. My question is for everyone here. Well, I don't want to say everyone here, but there are people who had a booming business prior to COVID, and then they kind of probably had to stop doing business during COVID because it just wasn't feasible for them. What type of statement do they want in that type of circumstances? Like, let's say they were in business since 2017, and during COVID they had to stop doing business for maybe 1 or 2 years, and now they want to pick business back up. So technically, they're not starting a new business, but they're gonna pick up their old business.
So the business has been dormant for some period of time for whatever reason. You know, you started it in 2017 and it's now 2023 and you want to get back to doing business, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then you would explain that in writing. So, you know, that you started originally in 2017, but for whatever reason, from 2017 until 2024, you have been dormant, and explain the reason why. But we would still require you to have, you know, all the mandatory documents, the tax returns, for you personally, the tax returns for the business. If the business didn't file tax returns, then that would be an explanation as to why you did not file.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions that anyone wants to ask openly?
Excuse me, is there any fee for the certification?
Yes, thank you for asking that. The fee is $250 at this time, unless you are a veteran or a person with disability, then the fee is waived.
Thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
And let me ask this question, Laura, is that fee just a fee, like a one-time fee? So let's say you have a woman who is a minority. Is it just a $250 fee?
For WBEs, for just a women, the WBE classification, you would be paying. If it's a WBE and a VBE, then it's complimentary and we would waive the fee. There is no fee if you're a veteran and a woman. There is no fee if you're a veteran and a woman and a minority. And the same with the persons with disability. And yes, Dr. Butler, thank you. It is a one-time fee of $250. We do not charge you again during the process once you're originally certified.
Okay, perfect. And I think this question was asked in the chat, but I think it's good to have it openly
Sure.
stated. So this question is, so if we do not have the mandatory and Desiree did answer it, I just want to ask it openly. So
Sure.
she asked, if we do not have the mandatory document, we must have a statement saying why we don't have it. And the Desiree answered that correct. There needs to be a statement of explanation provided. So just in case anyone else on here had that question and didn't answer it or didn't see it in the chat.
Yes, that is correct.
Let me see. Michelle said, thank you. This presentation was very helpful and well put together. Appreciate the information and thoughtful response to the question. You're welcome, Michelle. We're glad that you thought that it was helpful. That was our whole intention.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything you want to add? Sharice, do you have another question or you just haven't taken your hand down from the first question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If you get certified this year, when would you recertify again? Is it good for 5 years, 3 years? Somebody else, I think they said it, but I don't know if you had that, if you answered it.
Oh, we did not say. Thank you for that question. It's really important to know how long your certification is good for. We just require annual no change affidavits at this time. So you would originally complete the Schedule A application, and then on an annual basis, you would do a no change affidavit, and your certification letter will have an expiration date. You must do the annual no change affidavit prior to that expiration date. I believe it's like 90 days prior to it expiring. And right now you are certified until you're not. So the certification does not have a 5-year term anymore. It did at one time, and would require a different type of application, but we no longer require that different application. We just require the Schedule A, where you pay $250 if that applies to you, and then an annual no change affidavit.
Thanks. That was a good question.
I
Thank
have
One
you.
last
a
question.
if I
Sure.
can. An example, if I opened my business 3 years ago, but I never move it, for some reason, I never used it, and I want to start, that would be like a new business. Like I don't have any W-2s, no bank
Well,
statements, nothing.
Thank you so much for that question. I appreciate it. So with regard to the W-2s and 1099s for 3 years, that's regardless of the name of the issuer. So whatever you file with your tax returns for W-2s and 1099s, we want all of those. So if you have multiple W-2s or if you have multiple 1099s, we want all of them. So it doesn't, not just from the applicant firm. So just to be clear on that, with regard to the, it's regardless of the name of the issuer.
So if I'm working for a different company, that's the W-2s that I need to.
Yes, ma'am, you are correct.
Thank you so much. That
My
helped me.
pleasure.
Sharice had another question.
My last question is for disabled certification. So if you qualify for the permanent disabled placard, do you think that you would qualify for the certification here? I mean, pending that they submit all of the required documents?
You know, I'm not familiar with the disabled placard. I apologize, but I know what we require and for persons with disabilities, business enterprise, and that's, you know, all the mandatory documents and then whatever's based on your business structure. So all those documents on top of the actual affidavit by you as the owner and the person with disability, and as well as the doctor's information. There's 2 forms for persons with disabilities: an affidavit that you're going to complete as the applicant as your own, and then we also have a document that needs to be completed and attested to by the physician that explains and that certifies that the person is disabled.
Okay, so you don't have to be collecting like Social Security disability benefit.
At this time, we do not require that.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We have another question, and
Yep.
this will be the last question we have because we want to make sure that we honor everyone's time. So hopefully everybody has gotten their questions in. Kara, I hope I'm saying your name right. What is the typical turnaround time for great question. For turnaround, what is the typical turnaround time for certifications once the documents have been submitted?
So the turnaround time can be anywhere from 90 to 120 days. We try for 90 days, but that's not always possible. It depends on, how complex the record is, how much back and forth there is with the vendor. Is the vendor answering our questions in the online portal? There's many factors that determine the time frame, but on a perfect application, it would be 90 to 120 days.
All right, and Deidre, you can come off on mute.
Yes, quick question. I submitted my application, but and then they said I needed more documents, but then I had to have major surgery. So I want to know, do I have to start uploading everything all over again, or with that, can I just pick up on where I left off? I think it was one more item that I needed to upload, but I got ill.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you were ill. I hope you're better now.
Yes.
With regard to the actual application and the pending application in our online portal, there's a certain time that expires. And if you miss that deadline, if you log into the system, it'll show you like how much time you have. But once it reaches a certain point, everything will be gone and you will have to start from scratch.
Okay, that's what I need to find out. Okay, yes, I got to start from scratch. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Sharice, you got another question, girlfriend?
No, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't lower it.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Laura. This was amazing. This was so informative. I definitely hope that everyone got out of it what they were expecting to get out of it. Looking at the chat and the responses, there are people who thought that this was extremely helpful, and that definitely is our intention every time we provide educational training. So this is the contact information, and you will receive a copy of this slide deck. So do not fret. You will get everything that Laura presented today, along with a couple of other additional resources that will help guide you. And I will also include in that follow-up email a couple of links for some upcoming trainings that we have, as well as our 2024 Pathways to Cook County Summit, which is going to be held on April the 9th from 9 to 2 at the UIC Dorm Forum. It's going to be a very, very informative event, a lot of music and balloons and snacks and all of that good stuff. So if you could come, we really would like for you to come and experience the good stuff that Cook County has to offer. It's not just going to be about business. It's not just going to be about what we talked about today, even though there will be a certification workshop. But we also have the Bureau of Human Resources will be there. We will also have the Bureau of Economic Development talking about grants and access to capital information, and a bunch of other stuff that's going to be available. So I will have the link to that in the follow-up email as well. It's going to be a pretty robust follow-up email. Yes, David, there will be a recording of this. I will actually send the link to the YouTube channel, and you will be able to have access to this recording along with the other trainings that we've done in past. So don't worry about that either. I'll definitely make sure that you all get a copy of this recording. So that is all that we have today. Again, thank you so, Laura, you have something
Would
else
like
to say?
to just add one thing. Please take my email just in case you have any questions. Just give me some time to answer you. But if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. We're here to service you. And I look forward to any questions and your feedback. And, you know, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And we thank Desiree Atkins, who is the Deputy Director of the certification team and division, Nicole Mandeville, who is our Contract Compliance Director. In her absence, we also thank you. It's so David, her email is actually on the slide that's showing. You'll get a copy of the slides and it's on the contact information slide. So you'll have access to everybody's email there. All right, you all. So thank you again so much for joining. We appreciate you being here. Please don't make this the last training or workshop that you attend for the Office of Contract Compliance, because we put out good stuff all the time. All right, you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And
Please please like and subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube.
Right,
So
that's
that
a
way you
tongue
get
twister.
notifications and everything. So
Yes, definitely subscribe to that. And I think everybody here is already on our email list, but it's in my email signature too. If you're not on our email list, please make sure that you sign up for our email bulletins and our newsletters and information as well. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
thank you.
Thank you.